All right, everybody. Welcome to another awesome episode of Keeping It Rio. Today, I'm extremely pumped up because I've actually got the number one most wanted guest on my list. It's taken me 84 episodes to make it happen, but we're here today. So let me hit the intro real quick, and we're going to come back on the other side with some absolute fire. Keeping It Rio. All right, my fans, if that doesn't get you fired up, I don't know what will. But that was just the warm up for what we've got today. The main event is on the scene here. We have got my good friend, the Sales Evangelist himself, number one on my most wanted list since day one, Donald Kelly. Welcome to the program, my friend. How you doing today?
Bro, I'm so pumped. That intro, I want to go jump through like the wall right now, bro.
Hey, I tell you, it's some good stuff. We like to bring the energy at Keeping It Rio for sure. And
Got me hyped.
I think we've done a good job with that. It's Chris Carpenter with K Socialized Media. I give him a shout out every single time because he is a genius. So thank you, Chris.
Donald, something good, Chris.
He's awesome. But hey, I want to thank you first and foremost for taking the time today to be here with me. You have been very instrumental in my career, and we're going to talk about that obviously as we go throughout this conversation. But I know you're a super busy man. You've got all kinds of stuff going on. You're at your podcast studio. Thank you for taking the time. I'm definitely going to share a little bit of my story as to how important you've been to me. But thank you for being here.
100%, man. I'm super grateful, and I love you. I love all that you do, and I'm a big fan as well. So I get a chance to be the roles change now.
It's kind of cool, right? And this is the cool part about it. So I was in sales, and I was struggling really bad. And this is probably about 7 or 8 years ago when I first discovered you. And, I was just kind of down and out, ready to completely just scrap the sales thing altogether and find something else to do with my life. And I typed in sales on Google Podcast one day, and yours popped up, the Sales Evangelist. And I think your show was pretty new at that time because you were, just right at the infancy stages. So I tuned into a couple of them and started really getting some good vibes from it. And you turned my entire career around. I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for Donald Kelly and Mike Code. And Mike Code is one of my sponsors here as well. You two guys got me back into where my mind was, where it needed to be. I started figuring out how to do the sales thing. And here we are all these years later. And like I said, it's absolutely amazing that now you are a guest on my podcast, because I was a guest on yours, and that was my first ever podcast appearance. So this we've come full circle, and it's an amazing thing. It's been several years down the road, but this is episode 85 of Keeping It Rio. And I don't think any of it would have happened had it not been for that first one, Sales from the Street, that I did for you, I think in 2017. So pretty
dude, that's crazy.
It is nuts. Crazy, right? And think about this though, since that started, everything has just gotten so much bigger. I mean, did you ever think that you were going to get in a position that you're at now, where you're a major influence? You've got all kinds of stuff going on. I mean, I don't even know how many episodes deep you are on you've got different stuff going on now. So like, did you think it was going to get this big?
I mean, I would say, to the vision, I would lie and say, yeah, man, I knew it was going to get this. But no, I think we all had a hope that something good would happen from it, that it would grow. I didn't quite know where it would be. And I can tell you for sure now, like literally, like right now, my October is nuts. And I get a chance to, I'm going to, or September, October, I get a chance to go speak at Jeb Blunt's event in Outbound as a keynote speaker. And then I get a chance to go to LinkedIn also this month and go do content at LinkedIn headquarters, getting a chance to be a Salesforce influencer this year, top 29 Salesforce sales influencers. And traveling internationally to go give a training like in Europe. Like, I mean, all these things, like, just from starting a podcast, bro. So yeah, I couldn't dream that it was gonna be exactly like that, but I had hope that we would be successful. And I tell people I'm gonna stop doing it as soon as it gets boring, and it's still going. So and it's still fun. So uh, I don't know what else is gonna be what else we got as a potential, but we're gonna keep going towards it. So
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a lot of fun. I didn't
yeah.
I didn't know that I was going to enjoy this. Our podcast started off as like a little project for our company.
Hmm.
We had our social media director gave us a little thing to do where we were going to go live as a team, and
Yeah.
it turned into this. And now it's like, man, I've gotten some pretty cool people that I've gotten to talk to, authors, professional wrestlers, morticians, you name it. We've had everybody on Keeping It Rio. And it's insane because people, they recognize you and they know from your show. I had a guy from San Diego come down yesterday and train my guys.
Yeah.
And, he's been watching Keeping It Rio since the very infancy of our podcast. And it's like, I walk into conferences and people say, "Hey man, I love your show. I love it." So it's cool. And you're right. Until it's not fun anymore, I'm going to continue to do it and I'm going to love every minute of it. But let's kind of go back a little bit. I
Sure.
like to break things down and kind of see how we got to where we are in life. I was following you at the very infancy of the Sales Evangelist podcast.
Hmm.
Obviously, that's a labor of love. It's something you took a huge swing and a leap of faith on. Kind of take me back to the start. How did you realize that you had a gift, that you had a message to share? And, at what point in your life did you realize, hey, sales is going to be my thing? I'm going to be very proficient. I'm going to take the time and learn how to do this. And then I'm going to teach the world how to be better at this. At what point in your life? With me, it was at a very young age. My parents
Hmm.
had a convenience store, and I used to buy 12 packs of soda for $3 or whatever. And I'd go outside and I'd end up selling them for 50 cents a piece, and I'd double my money. And
Right.
from the very onset. So with you, I think you embody the American dream, just knowing your story from the very onset. Tell us a
Hmm.
little bit about it. At what point in your life did you realize this is something that could be real?
Yeah, I grew up in Jamaica. I moved to the United States when I was 9, and similar to you, what you're mentioning, our family had what we call a shop next to the house, and that we sold like staple items like rice and like little vegetables here and there, and shampoo and things of that nature. And it was pretty neat to see that a part of the family organization, and I was responsible as a seller. I mean, as a member of the family to take on role where I would be a part of going to the shop, and I had responsibility that I was supposed to do and all of that jazz. And then fast forward to when I came to United, the first product I sold was like a mango. I tried to sell mangoes in the front yard, and that subsequently led to the title of my book, "Sell It Like a Mango." But I wanted to do something. I wanted to make my own money. And then I saw like everyone around me were businessmen, so to speak. They were selling stuff. I didn't know it was sales, but I knew this was something that I saw people around me do, and I think I could have done it. I thought I could do it. So fast forward when I came to the United States, similar idea. I wanted to get some money, so I would go and get those candies at Albertsons at like on sale, and then go sell them double the price at school for $1 and try to make the money on those Snicker bars or whatnot. And I love that so much that this entrepreneurship idea erupted. But it wasn't. I couldn't tell you right then and there, Chuck, that it was sales, but it was just I knew I was going to be an entrepreneur, if that makes sense. Um,
Perfectly.
and then when it came to college, that's where the delineation of the roles, but I was still entrepreneur. I saw it was synonymous in my mind that if you're an entrepreneur, you're a seller. But I focused on the entrepreneur idea. And then I found out, that there are different titles, and I started selling Dish Network over the phone. And then I started doing inside sales for timeshare presentations, getting people to go to meetings. And then I started being a server, and then got into IT and sold IT training classes. Then eventually to door-to-door security, and then went into the medical field, did some stuff there, and finally tech, and finally software, where I started a podcast. But I would say it was in college when I did that, when I did the inside sales job with Dish Network. I was like, I like sales. I think I could do this, and I felt that I was doing pretty good at it. And my friends and people they're like, you should consider this. And that's what led me down this path to consider it more fully. And yeah, it just stuck, and I did was pretty good at it early on in the B2C side. But when I got into the business to business side, that's when I ran into roadblock, and the strategies that I did selling to individuals were different than selling to a corporation. And I learned from the school of the hard knocks and got some training and saw a hockey stick in my performance. And then I was like, I need to tell other people about this. And the Sales Evangelist became a podcast where I was evangelizing effective selling, what I was learning, what was working for me, so I can help other people. And in a lot of way, it was to shortcut the process as well, because I got a chance to interview like Gittimer and some of these sales experts that would charge thousands of dollars for a session, but now I had them for 30 minutes that I could interview them on my podcast, and folks like the Chuck Allens of the world could benefit from it, and myself. And that just kind of helped put me on a trajectory where we went. So I don't know if that kind of gives a good answer there.
That's an amazing answer. And it's basically just saying the same thing as my story, is that we knew
Yeah.
from a very young age what we were going to somehow find a way to do. And we found a way to do it. So, hey,
Yeah.
hooray for us, right? That's pretty awesome. It's
Yeah.
very similar. I didn't realize that our stories were so similar, with the family
Mhm.
businesses and all that, but that makes me feel good. I'm following the path of the sales evangelist here. I could definitely be doing worse. So you get into the deal, you start the
Yeah.
podcast. Obviously, when you start a podcast, the first thing I've come to find out is not millions of people are listening to it right off the bat.
No.
Take some time to build an audience to, really get your message out there. And a lot of people get discouraged before it ever really takes off. What was your motivation during those lean times when it started, other than just believing in yourself and knowing, hey, if I just stay the course? I know a lot of people who do a great job with it, but it becomes redundant to them, or they don't want to do it anymore. It's not fun, like you said, or
Yeah.
just inconsistency. I think your biggest thing has just always been it's extremely consistent, and I've tried to follow that model with mine. But during that course, I'm sure there were probably many times where you doubted it and you thought, man, am I doing this just to hear myself talk? At what stage of your podcast did you start to realize, hey, look, I'm reaching a lot of people here. I'm getting feedback from people that I've never met before. People on other sides of the world are finding my stuff. And, once that hit, did that change the way that you felt about it? Did it make you even more enthusiastic, or, what was that path like? Because you started at the very beginning, and now yours
Yeah.
is, I mean, I don't know where you're ranked at on the things, but you're up there pretty high, and you've got quite the audience, right?
Yeah. No, a great question. I think what made me keep going was just this idea of Le well, I had a it was accountability to one of my buddies, Jared, who's the co-founder of Podcast Movement, one of the biggest podcasts. It's the biggest podcasting event in the world now. But they were, we were chatting, sharing ideas, and it was all like an experiment, because since it wasn't my main thing, it was like a side gig. Let's just keep playing with it. And I think the big piece was, even though it wasn't like a crazy amount. I remember when the first downloads, I think I had like 10 or 15, and then it was like 30 people, and then it was like 80, and then I saw a dip, and I was like, oh man, 80 downloads. But then I just kept at it. And I remember the first week when I launched the podcast, Chuck, there was a guy named Jose Diaz, one of my first paying client. And it was somebody that knew me from local area, from church here, and he saw the podcast, and he was like, let's talk about some sales and marketing help. And I was able to connect with him and work with him, and it was like $300 a month that he was paying me as a side gig again. It was just like exciting. I was meeting with him for like 4 hours a month, hour and a half, an hour per session. And I was like, man, this is cool. And I was like, if I got this with Jose, because the money wasn't an issue. Again, we're making decent money in sales. I was like, what else is there? What else could I do? And then I remember Katie came along, and then from Katie, Destiny, and then from Destiny, I got a couple gigs speaking, and so all of these things started to pile up, and I was like, man, there's something here. So again, it wasn't a huge, deep audience yet, but the fact is, because people were finding it and I was engaging with people, it was like, this is exciting. Let's keep going with that. And I think sometimes people get them mixed up with, especially when they start a podcast, man, they might look at it and say, man, I only got 100 people listening to it. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Think about this. If you walk into a room of 100 people, you're going to walk out and say, oh man, there's nobody here. Of course not. You're going to be like, holy crap, 100 people here came to listen to me speak. Yes, let's do this thing. And that's what it's about. And fortunately, right now we get a lot more downloads. We have a lot more podcasts in the hopper. But we get and answer the question. We're producing right now. We're up to close to 1,600 episodes. So like, we've been around for a while, so people are downloading the show and people are going back and going through the back catalog and all of that stuff. And those things, like, it's exciting. But the early onset was just hearing people's success and hearing people having good experience with it. And I remember when you reached out to me too, because you were an Ohio State fan, and I'm down here in Miami. I'm like, Chuck out here with this Ohio State stuff, and I was still sour when they beat University of Miami. But we started, kicking and chatting. I was like, man, this is a dude who said he just moved to Texas and he's checking out my show. This is crazy. And we started connecting and chatting. Yeah, but those are things that kept me going. And yeah, I had those moments when, we had numbers dips and things were crazy, and, it didn't seem like it was, if it was still viable, but I kept asking myself, is it still fun? And it was still fun, and I knew there was potential with it. So I just kept at it.
Yeah, I love it. And that's the one thing that I can really tell about you through everything you do is just the passion for it. And you're very just excited and enthusiastic. And it's contagious. I mean, people say the same thing to me, that, the energy is what really kind of draws the people to you.
Yeah.
And I'll be the first to admit, I am a complete amateur. If you could see my setup here, I think that the product on screen is way better than the equipment that I've got. But it doesn't matter, because the truth of
No.
the matter is I got a very good encouraging pep talk when I first started, because it was this, 13 people watched it this week. And those numbers kind of suck, and they do kind of mess with you a little. But then it started building and building. But someone along the way told me, you know what, if one person watches that and you affect one person's life, or you make them think something different that can be a changing point for them, that the whole thing is worth it. And I believe that it's absolutely amazing, some of the people that reach out now and want to be on Keeping It Rio. I mean, I've
Yeah.
had you're going to be like the third or fourth author I've had.
Woohoo!
And, like I said, I've had a mortician, I've had a wrestler, I had an Elvis impersonator.
What?
And it's just like, what is this? I have no idea. I had no idea that this could even be a thing, and but people are reaching out to me. And, a couple weeks ago, I had one of the main players in my industry that wanted to be on Keeping It Rio. And that's pretty cool to me, because it shows that it's doing something.
Yeah.
Obviously I'm way far in the hole as far as what I've spent on stuff versus what I'm going to make, but I've got some sponsors. I mean, I've got hot sauce back here for life. Pretty much I can get hot sauce anytime I want it. I've got a great sponsor with Mike Code, and I've got the Hook agency down here that's, provide me the opportunity to grow this. And who knows where it's going to go, but I'm going to tell you this: you're my model. You're the guy that I look up to in this entire thing. And I hope to one day, just be in your shadow. But it's been so fun watching it. And I said this when I was on your show 5 years ago.
Yeah.
You put them so fast. I think I'm probably about 1,200 episodes behind. And, there's going to be Sales Evangelist for life, which is a great thing. But you're doing the podcast. You've got the sales career. At what point do you realize, okay, now there's even something bigger than just what we're doing with the podcast, and it's time to say all in with this deal? And you start, putting together other things, masterminds, and you start really becoming a very well-known and respected influencer, a trainer, a sales expert. And, at what point did you just say, hey, look, if we're going to do this, you left your other work and
Yeah.
went all in with it. Obviously that's pretty scary, but
Yeah.
at what point did you just say, heck, let's do it? It's either going to work or it's not, but I'm all in, and there's no turning back.
There was I listened to this guy. He had a podcast, and or was on a podcast, and one of the things he said was he and his wife spoke about and there's a book by Carrie Oberrunner which was talking about leaving your full-time gig, and it was kind of almost like this like prep book, some stuff that you needed to do and make sure things were, day job. It was like day job to dream job. That's what it was, Carrie Oberrunner. So that was like a little incentive, and I built up into my mind that it was really, after reading these books and being in the community, I realized it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Unfortunately, my wife and we were just recently married. She's working, I'm working sales, so we're making pretty good money. We paid off cars, we paid off, like, a lot of debts. We are still working on student loan, and all these things that it was just like a good spot. And we didn't have a kid yet. And then it was like, one of the things this dude said on his when he was on this show, I can't remember his name now, but he said that he and his wife met and talked about what would it take, because he's an entrepreneur, for them to to leave the full-time gig. And his wife said, you need to be making X amount of dollars per month. They settled on it as a family. You need to be making that much money consistently for 3 months. Ours came down to be like, all right, can you make rent 3 months in a row consistently outside of your, the full-time gig? And we're like, all right, challenge accepted. So we started doing that, and then we started getting sponsor. We got a sponsor with, I think it was working on Prezi or whatnot. But we got some things that came to play, and we're like, all right, there's money to be had here. And then this was, not all companies are like this, but the company I was working with at the time, that we're working on a deal, and this deal was going to be like a pretty decent size. And then the CEO, the house has, house always wins. So the house changed the cards, so to speak. And what they did was they said that we are going to now have this deal that was, I was going to get a lump sum amount, was going to be scattered over 5 years. And I'm like, so you're tethering me with a company for 5 years before I can get that full commission on this. And then I was thinking, man, and they had some policies that I just didn't agree with when they did some things. And I was like, you know what? I could sit here and work for them forever, or I can go out and do my own thing. So with all those things, it was like a perfect climate of change. And we're like, you know what? It's a chance to do it right now. We're fortunate. We don't have some of the obligations that's going to be as strong. Let's go and jump. But it was responsible. We knew we paid down debt. We had the money, and I was making money. It wasn't replacing my sales income at that time, and my wife was working at the time, so it just made sense. And that's what we did. We jumped ship, or I jumped ship in 2015, and then we had sponsors, and it wasn't always peaches and cream. It wasn't always perfect then. We had lean moments, as well. And then my wife said we made a plan that she wanted to raise our kid at home. She didn't want to do daycare. And again, not saying anything bad for anybody on that. We just wanted to do that ourselves. So it was like, all right. So by the time we have a kid, we got to make sure that we're in a position that we can replace her income and my sales income, and to be able to survive. And I was able to early retire her back when our son was born. And now she wants to work again, but it's not because of a situation where it's like we're out on the streets. But it was just, we're grateful for that. So that was the impetus that made it happen. We set a goal, we saw others that were guiding us, we read books, and it set us up in a good position. And something also happens once you burn ship, not in a bad way, but because we burned ship, like we were going on this entrepreneur island. There's no other way back. It was here or die. And we said, let's just screw it. Let's do it. So we went ham. We eventually got sponsors. We started reaching out to other people, started doing all the sales tactics I was doing for other people in my own business. And lo and behold, it's crazy how it works, right?
Yeah, it's amazing,
Yeah.
100% faith in yourself, and just, hey, let's just jump and hope that there's water in that pool when we get there. But that brings up something that's so crucial, that
Yeah.
I'm so impressed with you. You mentioned your wife, Christina.
Yeah.
You guys are like the super team, at least out here. I see the support that you get and the support that you guys give each other. At what point in your journey did you guys meet? And has she been with you, throughout the entire process? Or, did she find you when you were struggling, and that's how you realized, hey, this is the one, she's a keeper?
So Christina and I, we met when we were 14. We did we went to church together, and she was we had multiple congregation. One of them was a Spanish congregation, and one of them was English. And so all the youth in the building, we did stuff together. We just went to like activities and just hung out and so forth. And she was this girl that I could never have, and just cutie pie. And but we just remained friends. And then we got older, and you mature, and you get even you get even, I started looking a little bit better, I guess. And matured as a young adult, and then we went off to school, and then eventually came back to Florida, and she was around and I was around, and we started spending more time together. And since we had this friendship that lasted for so long, eventually I opened my mouth and had the courage to finally say something. And um, it led to us. She was interested, and we dated for a couple of years, and then got engaged for about a year and got married after that. So knew her since I was 14, and now got married in 2013. So we're coming up on that 10 year next year. So
That's pretty awesome. I mean,
yeah.
from 14, that's part of the entire journey. That's really cool. So you guys, you did this together. You've built the plan. You've stuck to the game plan, had the lean times, made your way through it, gotten to the other side to where now, the Sales Evangelist is just humongous, and you've ventured out into doing other projects,
Yeah.
right? Tell us a little bit about your other stuff that you got going on besides just doing the podcast and your training, because I mean, I've got some stuff right here that you've done, so very
Yeah.
well accomplished guy. Tell us a little bit about some of your other ventures that you've done or things that you've got planned for the future.
Yeah. So TSE, and so explain to people on TSE is the acronym for the Sales Evangelist. It grew to the point where I was doing coaching, and then I had speaking opportunities. And I didn't know, Chuck, if I was a speaker or if I was a sales trainer or whatnot. And I try to battle both, if I wanted to be a speaker or whatnot. And then I came down to look at the scalability. I wanted to create something that's going to last longer than me. So the sales training side came to be the best thing, and then how I can multiply myself with also having other sales facilitators. And and I still do speaking as well, for sure. But so we started focusing on our content, on creating sales training content, and we developed our sales foundation program. We have a sales a time management, which is our planner as well. So we have a course on helping sales professionals be able to plan and control their time. Have one on enterprise business development, so folks who are going after large companies. We have another boot camp, teaches new sellers how to start and to get traction as a brand new business development rep. And then we have a sales mastermind, which helps experienced sellers when it comes towards the accountability and the setting goals and the group aspect and guidance to be more successful. And then we still do coaching, so one-on-one coaching and group coaching with teams. And then I'll do keynotes like we're in workshops as well. So that's how the business, that's the Sales Evangelist right now. But then as a byproduct of that, like we mentioned, I started creating a planner, just something that I could use. And then one of my clients got wind of it and they started asking, yeah, buddy. One of my clients got wind of it and then asked if they can get some. So we made some copies at Staples, and then had other people who were interested. So then we went ahead and created last year, like got a design that Chuck has right now in his hand, and designed that planner with our designer. And then now people can buy it on Amazon. So I find all the time, like, folks who bought it. One guy put it on his wedding registry.
I like it. That's you're evangelizing properly at that point, right?
Yeah, dude. And then so that sales planner is out there, and I started then I was flirting with a company publisher back in 2015 again, when I was thinking about leaving a full-time gig to do write a book. And I started it and just wasn't right, and eventually got a book coach and started over again and finished a book, and it's called Sell It Like a Mango, a new seller's guide to closing more deals. And that's published by Sound Wisdom, so big shout out to them. And it's all about how we can make no matter what product you sell, what service you sell, you have people who are selling the same exact thing. What's going to make you different? Just like in Jamaica, when people are selling mangoes, you may have like 50 people selling the same mango from like the same region. Like, what made one mango seller stand out from the other? So it's not the product, but it's the individual. And the book breaks down like 10, 12 principles about what we can do to make sure that we're standing out from our competitors on that. So the book is obviously just like our podcast, a means to get my name out there, and our sales planner is a means to help sellers to be able to improve their game. And then the newest part of our business is TSE Studios. And TSE Studios, because of the podcast and how we've generated business from it, again, another client of ours asked about, can we help them with their podcast? And we started producing their show and guided them. And my team said they had room and they wanted to do it more. And then we hired more people on the production side. So now we produce podcasts for 10 to 14 podcasts we produce. Well, our goal is to get to 14, 15 podcasts by the end of the year. But we have 10 shows right now and 2 more launching in October for other clients. And that's the creative side of our business. And we're going to separate that business eventually, probably next year. And it's going to be TSC, it's standalone as TSC Studios. It's just now, it's just a creative side of our business. And it produces my podcast. And then eventually, the bigger vision is to get into software. There are a lot of fortunate to be able to do sales tech work with sales individuals and consult and coach, and you find typical problems that people have, and some of these could be solved by software. So we're going to dabble in a software game, and that's where the next evolution of our company in the next several years is to also add technology and software in it that can help sellers with our, as well as our training program. So that's the big vision there for right now.
That's a huge vision. And I'll tell you the truth, I have zero doubt that you're going to accomplish everything that you just said, because you've already got it detailed. You've got a defined plan. And I've seen you do everything so far to this point. Wow, that's impressive. I did not know that you guys were doing podcasts, especially that volume of them. That's impressive. I mean, you're the original. So if anybody's going to be qualified to show them how to do it, you're the guy. But man, congratulations on that. That's way more than I even thought. I'm definitely going to buy some copies of the book for my team. I bought 10 of the planners when they came out, and I've got 2 left, but they're allocated. I've got a couple buddies over in Oklahoma that I owe them to. But I like the idea of the book. Very similar to what we do here. I have a roofing business, and there's nothing that really separates a roof from another roof. It's going to be, whatever material you're going to put on. There's nothing you can really do to make it, stand out. So those are the principles we apply to our business. How do we separate ourselves in the industry when everything's virtually the same?
Yeah.
And they can pick anybody, and get a similar product. So I'm looking forward to reading it, and I'm going to get for my sales team here and probably for a couple of my friends, because we like to support we like to support our buddies out there in the world that are doing crazy things, or like you say, do big things, right?
Yeah, man, I appreciate that.
I don't think there's anything bigger than that. I mean, it's incredible when you think about it. In your life, you started, like I said, selling mangoes, and now you've got dare I use the term? It's a dynasty, dang near, right? I mean, you've developed into many different things, and have evolved it to the point where now, goodness gracious, I mean, that's one of the more respectable stories I've ever heard in my entire life. So congratulations on all of that. I know it's going to be 5 years down the road, we're going to talk on episode 850 of Keepin' It Rio, and it's going to be, look at how much we've done since then. But one thing I did want to mention too is your overall appeal. You were talking about how in the early days you said, hey, a guy from Texas found my podcast. That's cool. I was in your sales mastermind last year.
Yeah.
And I hope that didn't just come through. That's my computer making a noise there. I apologize.
Oh, we didn't hear it.
Okay, cool. But I was in your mastermind, and the one thing that impressed me the most was the area that the mastermind group covered with the members. I mean, there was a guy that was in Hawaii. There was someone, there were people in other countries.
Yeah.
And to me, I thought, man, like, how did Donald get all these people into this mastermind? Because this is a small group. I think there was maybe 8 or 10 or 12 people in the small masterminds.
Yeah, we keep them about 10 for each group. Yeah.
Yeah. So how does that happen? Is that all organic from people who over the course of time have just found you? Or do you go out and actively seek people to, that may be good candidates for it? How does it work to put that caliber together of people from all over the world? Because obviously you can't know everybody in person, and you can't say, hey, I go hang out with this guy in Hawaii and this guy in Poland all the time. So how does that work? Is it all just, your consistency and just people over time just find out about it?
Yeah. Some of them have been part of our training program. The mastermind came as a byproduct of our training program. Our training is a little bit different. Most training programs, it's like you're going to go into a 1-day workshop and you're going to sit there and, do the workshop, and then, or it's like, go online and dissect the consumer content. but I realized that that wasn't the best way to learn. So we do have content that people will dissect, like say our Sales Foundation program. There's 56 videos or 55 videos, but it's over 12 modules. So each week a new module drops. So everyone watches, the 1 or 2 modules, but they have an online community that they get a chance to be a part of and ask questions relative to the training that they watch. And then we have a group training, 1 hour or hour and a half training every week based on a module. So if we say we focus on doing your cold pitch, outreach pitch, then we'll role play that during the training sessions and go a little bit more in depth. And say, in video number 4, I talked about this principle about how you can grab the prospect's attention. Let's go ahead and role play that now. And, the group role plays that. So after we got done one of our training groups, one of the members asked, "Man, I like the community aspect of meeting every week. Could you do something, develop something for that?" And I was like, "Sure, let's think about it. And how much would you guys be willing to pay?" And then they started saying, "We'll pay this much." And then we developed a mastermind and had a few people. And then next, more people heard about it and folks came in and we advertised it and talked about it on a podcast and other means. And folks raised their hands and people that I connected with. And, and then we just started, we just do run different cohorts like once a quarter. So we just started a new one. The next one will begin in December or January for the next year. But we'll finish up the year with this cohort. And yeah, it's just an opportunity to help develop and grow. So that's how it really started, and that's how people hear about it. And now we have opportunities. We have I have 2 sales reps or business development reps that work with our team. So when leads come inbound or people who they're doing outbound prospecting too, they can offer them the programs that we offer, and that's how we get people in the seats for those things. Oh, and I forgot, last year we did a conference in South Florida. And we did that. It's called Biz Dev. So it's all around business development. And we had LinkedIn as our main sponsor for that. And we had 3 other companies that sponsored it now. And we had about 150 registrants, including online registrants. But now we're looking to have 300 people this next year in South Florida. And that's our goal for that business development conference. So again, that's all of the conference, the book, the podcast, all means to evangelize this method of effective selling. We believe sales doesn't have to be difficult, doesn't have to be confusing. We believe there's a way that you can make it simpler, and that's what we teach and how we help sellers to be better at their job. And all of those different external advertising means, books, conference, and podcasts are means of getting that message out, and so folks can come in and experience what we have to offer.
Yep. And you do it better than anybody I've ever seen, for sure. I mean, like the Sales Evangelist is the perfect title. And I always think about you. I was at a conference in Florida last year, and
Yeah.
Ed Milet was the speaker.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you've ever seen Ed Milet speak live, but it's
No.
well worth the price of admission. He's one of the best speakers on this planet. But that's what his message was in this speech was, you have to believe 100%. You have to be evangelical about your cause. And every time he says evangelical about your cause, Donald Kelly's the first guy I think about. And it's like, this guy was the evangelist way before. But you do an amazing job, and like I said,
Thank you, man.
You never get tired, and you've always got the energy and just going and going and going and continuing to just build something that's going to be absolutely phenomenal, that's going to be around years and decades probably after you're gone.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I've been so proud watching it as we go. I love the fact that we've been able to stay in contact throughout the years. And, you're a guy who, years ago, I always like to tell the story. I came home from work one day, and there's a care package on my porch, and it was just a whole bunch of stuff in there that you'd sent over as Miami Hurricanes hats and shirts and all this stuff. And it was right after that, that was one of the greatest games in the history of sports. It was great. But that's just the kind of guy you are. And I always was very impressed by that, because it's like, that is such a personal thing. And that's what we talked about a lot in the mastermind was, you make it such a personal experience for your clients that you're a part of their family. They don't even think of anybody else when they think about your service or your product, because you're so ingrained with them. But you embody that from the very beginning. And that was like probably the first thing where I thought, man, now I understand why this guy is doing what he's doing and where he's going, because he sent me a package for my birthday. I would have never expected that. And all these years later, I'll never forget it. I still got the Miami hat. It's at my house. But That's
That's cool,
amazing. I
man.
appreciate that so much, and you do that for so many people. It's like you're everybody's friend, and everybody really just, looks up to you and trusts what you're saying because we know that it's genuine. You're not trying to sell us on a bunch of stuff, but you're showing us something that's going to help all of us improve. And value is far more important, I think, than anything else. And you provide
Mm.
as much value as anybody I've ever known in my life when it comes to your content. I encourage anybody that watches Keeping It Rio to definitely check out Donald and all of his stuff. Let's do the quick rundown here.
Yeah,
We're,
dude.
we're going to keep it, about a 45-minute podcast today. I like to keep people wanting more. So we've got still a few minutes to go here, but let's go through the rundown. Okay. If the fans of Keeping It Real want to get a hold of Donald and your products, give us some of the avenues that people can see your stuff, can follow you, and where they can, purchase a planner or book or a training platform if that's something that'd be beneficial to them.
Yeah, you can find that by you can find me on any platform at Donald C. Kelly. So if you're listening to this, you're probably on Facebook. You can also check me out on the gram, Donald C. Kelly, and drop me a little message there. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Donald C. Kelly, or you can send me an email, donald@thesalesevangelist.com. If you go to our website, thesalesevangelist.com, you can find our podcast. You can see our free resource tab where we have some free training. We have some different tips. We have a weekly tip that we give out, sales tip where we email you a strategy. So we're all about giving out a bunch of stuff. If we can give out a bunch of educational stuff that's going to be great for free, then people come back and buy our stuff or join our mastermind or one of our training programs. And you can find all that information there as well of our upcoming courses and training programs that we have to offer. But so at thesalesevangelist.com.
Yep, there you go. I think that's a website that everybody should look at because, like I said, there's nobody that brings more heat, more value, more energy. Um, what else is there to say? I mean, that's pretty much it. You started as a young boy that was selling mangoes, and now you've got this whole deal going on. You're getting ready to just continue to take over the world and continue to grow and develop. And I'm so thankful for you taking time today. I know how busy you are. I know how much is going on there. So, Donald, thank you, my friend, for being on Keeping It Real. I told you you were the number one person on my list. I've now got 4 of my top 5, but I got number 1 today.
Yes.
So I appreciate it. I'm going to put it out and definitely do everything I can to help promote your stuff. I try to do that as best I can because I believe in you and I believe in what you're doing. And you have personally affected me. Like I said, I would not be sitting here. I would not even be in my industry right now if not for you. And I can't thank you enough for that because that spawned into something insane for me. And I never thought I'd get this far in life, but it all started right then when I was at the very bottom and I was ready to quit. You inspired me with your message. And, here we are all these years later talking about it. So I appreciate you as a friend. I value that very much. And anybody that's wanting to get better with sales, this is the guy you want to follow because you can't help but get better. I mean, he took an idiot like me and turned me into $1 million plus producer.
Woo!
So that's the way it is. Anything else you'd like to say or promote before we call it a day here on Keeping It Real? It's a Friday afternoon. You're in Florida. It's probably beautiful out there. I was in Orlando a couple weeks ago, and
Yeah, dude.
it's a different kind of beautiful than what we have here in San Antonio. Both are awesome, but I'm sure
Yeah.
there's a beach somewhere that's calling your name. So before we wrap it up, anything you'd like to say to just to kind of put a bow on this appearance here on Keeping It Real?
Now, at first, I just say thank you and congratulations on what you're doing, man. It's awesome to see you and to watch and to learn from you. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here to be able to share my voice to your community because I know that's precious as well. And I just say keep on keeping on, man. Keep on helping people out there and inspiring them. And I want to just tell the next person out there who just feels like you're in a difficult situation, you feel like it's tough. Maybe it's a financial challenge you're in right now, or maybe a relationship challenge, maybe health issues, or maybe you just don't know if this business is going to keep going. I just want to tell you something. This is one thing that I keep in mind for myself. It's like you didn't come this far to only come this far. Just think about that. There's opportunities out there that people are willing to help you, like the Chucks, like me, and so many other folks out there. Just reach out for help. We can, and collectively, we can go so much more further than we get other people to help us than try to do it on our own. But just remember, don't quit. You didn't come this far to only come this far. Go make it happen. and go out and do big things, man. And I would say if you're listening to the show too, you like it, tell somebody else about it, because Chuck is putting out this amazing content every week, and there's people don't know where to find this stuff. They don't know about it, but tell them and share this one with somebody else. Promise you'll help them. So thanks, man.
There you go. Donald Kelly, everybody. Thank you for your time today. We appreciate it. And I'm going to drop this one here probably sometime next week. I'll get with you for the details after the broadcast. But thank you guys for watching this. I hope we brought some value and some entertainment to you. To me, this was very special, and I appreciate that, Donald. So thank you. And until next time, this is